Hello,
Hello, family.
welcome back.
Welcome back to Hear Us Out. Again, I want to say thank you to all of our subscribers, to all of our new listeners. Welcome.
Mm,
And I'm Renee.
I am Kyrie, and we've been waiting
Mm-hmm.
because the logo thing
Right.
and all that stuff, and also we kind of came down with a case of sniffles,
Yeah,
and
it's been a combination of
yeah, big
things.
combination, but regular normal sniffles,
Right.
and so that kind of took us out for a couple weeks,
Right.
and we've been
Yeah, because it's sort of overlapped. Like I was first, and then you, and now
hmm
we're. So
and we're
yeah,
both
here we.
kind of in the
Yeah,
final
the final stages of it.
lingering
Mm-hmm.
stages. So we might be coughing a bit, but that's
Right.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we've like I said, been waiting for the logo and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
a bit of combination of things, just waiting.
Right.
But we still would be waiting if January wouldn't have been such a I would say uh,
A series of unfortunate events, I guess you could say.
unfortunate, fortunate events.
Truthful. I
I
mean,
mean, a lot of stuff has happened
yeah, a lot of stuff has transpired.
since the last episode.
Hmm.
And I thought that it'd be best before the month of January actually ends
Hmm.
that we actually, you know, discuss
Right.
some of these things that we have seen happen
Yeah.
in our country.
Right.
Um, so yeah,
We had a we had an insurrection,
an insurrection, yes.
and the insurrection entailed pretty much all of the events that you would think would occur
Hmm.
at an insurrection. And I think, watching it, I know how I felt it, and I was just like, not that I was shocked or surprised. It was just okay. So this is really happening here, huh? This is what this has come down to where you know folks, I guess, felt like they just I don't know if they wanted to be lied to or what because there is this gap, and it's how is it that our votes we had 70 plus million people to vote for Trump. And I'm like, yes, but you had like, I don't know, 75, 76. I know the gap
Like
was
80
like,
plus
you know, plus millions,
who
and
didn't vote for Trump, who
right.
voted
And
the
you
other
have
guy.
you have folks who are believing that, you know, dead presidents in other countries are have influenced elections versus the fact that the guy that you voted for just lost,
Hmm.
and
I remember thinking I remember because we watched it together,
hmm
the news coverage
right,
of the riot, the insurrection,
right,
if you call it, but that's such a grandiose term.
yes, right,
The term that I used for it when we talked was
right,
farce.
right, of course, right,
This
exactly.
is a
This is yeah,
farce. This is a joke
right.
that a bunch of people,
Hmm.
you know, these aren't like trained military, like pseudo like this is not a unit of black ops insurrectionists
Okay.
who charged. It was a bunch of backwoods people and
But
West Texas,
you did
what you call them.
have
I mean, they were out there
you had
with
mili-
that
you
stuff, but
had
that was not
you
what.
had people who were like currently who were in the military. You had military officers, you had police
But that's
officers, you had
not. But that
CEOs,
was
you
not
had
the lion's share. It was people, normal, regular. Well, normal, regular
yes, I know
people.
normal in quotations.
Yeah, people who these like
Like the shaman
a
guy.
bunch of Joe Blows, a bunch of Joe Blows,
Hmm.
a random assortment of people who felt that they had been lied to,
Right.
that
They watch Fox
that their
News, the
country
parlor.
was being taken over by some deep state group of Satan worshiping pedophiles,
Right. And they
you
were
know,
standing over and
and
adding
all this
boats
stuff,
in or whatever.
all that stuff.
Right.
And then like you look at the footage that we saw
Hmm.
of this
Event.
event
Hmm.
farce,
Right.
and it wasn't. it wasn't, of tactical, a tactical bombardment of our nation's defenses as these people. It was just this. It was madness.
Right.
Just people running and doing and just absolute madness all over the place. There was nothing controlled about this. It was just a thing that happened, and it
Well,
was
but the thing is that,
completely
but wouldn't
predictable.
you sort of expect that? The
Yeah,
fact, but it doesn't make it not
it doesn't make it not a
insurrection
insurrection.
because
It
it was a
doesn't
bunch
make
of
it. Yeah,
loose,
it doesn't
you know,
make it
you still
anything other than what it was.
was.
But people use this word like insurrection and then all this stuff, and it makes it. I don't know. To me, it makes it sound a bit more grandiose than what it actually was.
Well, I wouldn't call it
It was
grandiose.
foolishness.
Yes, it was
It
foolishness.
was a
And
farce.
it
It was
was
a bunch of
dangerous.
yeah. I
And it
mean,
was all of those.
nobody.
So,
There was nobody not saying that it's not that it. Nobody's not saying that it wasn't
right.
dangerous. But you're saying insurrection like this. It was an insurrection. It was a this insurrection of people who and it's like this this was a farce. This was a bunch of it was a hodgepodge of people who like it the most obvious this wasn't what you're seeing here was not that was not a victory of some insurrection who stormed the Capitol. It was a failure of action from people who were putting whose job is to make sure something like this doesn't happen. I mean, like this
But
was
it
the
did.
most obvious thing. It's like they
The fact that
posted about it.
right,
They did
right.
all.
The
You
fact that
knew
they
that they were
posted
coming.
right,
You
and they didn't
knew.
do, and they maybe they didn't take them seriously, but it doesn't make it like I know what I saw, and I know
Mhm.
what a lot of other people saw, and I feel like what happened. It's just that maybe they weren't as sharp, but it doesn't mean that it did not happen.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, well, maybe if they were better trained,
No, 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 no.
oh, whatever the case may be.
If they would have just, I mean, like I remember I said because it was remember because the ruling in Wisconsin had come out that they weren't going to press charges for the cops that had shot I forget his name.
Blake, that's his name.
Hmm.
Yeah, Blake.
Shot him 3 times in the back and
Mm-hmm.
he's paralyzed, all the stuff.
Jacob Blake, that's his name, right?
Jacob Blake, yeah, and that the charges are like we're not going to prosecute, and like they talk about they had National Guards out there, and they had all the windows and stuff were boarded
Mm-hmm.
up, and barricades and stuff, and like nobody, it wasn't anything like that had happened
Well,
out there.
that's because people respond to things differently. Look.
And I'm like, you
Trumpsters
had
responded
all.
a
I know. I'm
particular
just
way.
saying, you had all these. You had like National Guards and all this stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
you were thinking like the Führer
No,
of a
they were
righteous God
thinking
was getting ready to
right,
fall
but they were thinking that
on
we were going to come
Wisconsin,
out there.
right?
See, that's what it
Yeah, no,
was.
no,
Right,
I know what it
right.
is. But I'm just saying is
Huh?
that they had that response, and then you look at what actually happened,
Mm-hmm.
which was nowhere near like the people that came out and the things that happened did not warrant 1,500 National Guards and stuff and all that stuff
Well,
being
that's
out there.
just. But folks have
But
talked
then you
about that
look. I
already.
know. I'm just
Okay.
saying
Okay.
is that. But then you look at the insurrection,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like these people posted all over them exactly what they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to call and we're going to do all this. It's going to be on that
Mm-hmm.
January 6th
Right.
at this time.
Right.
We're going to be out there.
Right.
And we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You had all the foreknowledge, all the if there was no excuse
Mm-hmm.
for it to get as far as it did.
Right.
Like if you would have treated this as like a riot,
Mm-hmm.
that these were rioters who were coming to riot,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
So why didn't it?
and that this was a possibility that
Mm-hmm.
this could actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have had the appropriate response to something like that, then nothing would have ever gotten this far, But
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this, and it's like I said, it's a farce.
Right.
This
You
is a
had
bunch of,
you had a mediocre to pretty much no response to what happened in
yeah,
DC.
this is,
But as usual, you know, you have the tanks rolling for maybe it wasn't even 100 people that came out
mhm.
for, and it was mostly Blake's,
Yeah, it's family
family
stuff.
or whatever. And it's just, well, we know why
Yeah,
that's
we
the
know what
case.
that case is. I'm just
We
saying,
know why.
you know,
So I'm not, you know, calling it a farce, per se. I understand why you're calling it that, but I'm not surprised at
I'm
the
not
reaction.
surprised.
I'm
That's
not.
not, but that's what makes it a farce. That is why this is a farce. Is that the young people say insurrection as if this was a tactical, what you call it? This
Well,
was a riot. This was just a bunch. This was madness. There
yes, it
was
was
no.
madness. It was a failure on the part of security and all of those type of things. Yes,
Mhm.
but all of a sudden they have all the full knowledge. They know exactly how to respond, you know, to to a Blake's of what they thought their response was going to be. And the reason why they thought that, because they know the faces of the people who they thought were going to be out there.
Yeah.
All right. So now you have DC, right? We know who's out there for the most part. The overwhelming the majority of the people who are out there,
Mhm.
we know how they look. You all didn't take it seriously, and so that's what it is. So it's not so much that it was a force. It was just
It's a.
we know how. Yes,
This
we
is
know how
like this
you all.
is.
That's why when we sat back and we watched it, that's why I was like, oh really?
This
And
this,
then
this
everyone
is
was like, well, we
like,
already know how this would have been. First of all, it
yeah.
never had even gotten to that. Had the insurrectionists look like us. We already know that. We know this already.
This is a joke. This is a joke. It is like, I don't know. It's just something about, like, you say this word insurrection, you give lending it more credence to what it actually was. Like I said, I'm not saying it wasn't dangerous. I'm not saying people did get killed. I'm not saying that more people wouldn't have gotten killed. But this was bedlam. This was mayhem. This wasn't this wasn't some tactical, like I said, tactical military strike of
All right,
people
so
going out
so
there.
so a
This
lack of
was just
planning. That's what it
mayhem.
was. That's what it was because the idiots are running this, right? So just because I guess like I said, they weren't sharp on their end, that we're supposed to be like, well, it's not, it's it's not an insurrection or it's not
I'm
those
not.
things.
I'm not saying that. Like I said, like I
Mm-hmm.
literally just said.
Right.
I'm not saying that it wasn't dangerous and that these people weren't coming to, harm people and that they weren't trying to take over and occupy,
Mm-hmm.
the Capitol Hill and stuff like that, and that they weren't going to, that this wasn't going to spill over and become much, much worse
Mm-hmm.
if, things hadn't panned out the way that they did,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But like, you got some dude walking around in like a
With horns on his
buffalo
head, yeah.
buffalo
Horns, right?
shawl
Yeah.
with face paint, and they're around here taking selfies,
With the police, yes.
with the
Uh-huh.
police and in Nancy Pelosi's office and standing and all this stuff. And it's like, I'm not saying that these people weren't out there to do harm.
Yeah, because
I'm
someone
not
was
saying,
killed.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. I'm not, like, five people killed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, that it wouldn't have, like I said, that it wasn't dangerous, or that it wouldn't have become something much worse if the response, had it been what it had been. All I'm saying is that saying that this was an insurrection is lending more credence to these rioters than what it actually was. These people weren't. These were. This was, like I said. This was not some, you know tactical, strike of from far right terrorist groups that made sure, like you're seeing all these people come out All these people come out, excuse me, talking about how I was at the riot. All these people coming forward, I was at the riot. I was at the riot. You know, and people are like, maybe it's because these people, they're like, they don't even know what they were doing was illegal, or they think that they're somehow above, you know, the consequences. That all these people are coming out and making sure that it's known that my name is so and so, and I was at, the insurrection. And it's like all this stuff, all these people coming forward, all these things of the rioters, all these people are coming forward, you know, to make sure that it's known that they were there, and it's like, and people are wondering why would these people come forward? They did something like incredibly illegal. This was, you know, an attack on democracy, literally attack on the democracy of this country. Whatever, excuse me, whatever we make it out to be, right? Representative democracy, not real democracy. Any type of critical analysis of the actual formation and maintenance of our government, however you want to call it. But these people attacked the rule of law, the literal embodiment of law and order in this country. A senatorial body who are, presiding over the transfer of power in this country. And it's like, how do these people feel like they can just, come out and say that I was and nothing and then they're surprised when they get arrested, you know? And it's like, I don't think they are surprised. I don't think that, that they're not embarrassed. They're not ashamed. They're not looking, looking at this like maybe we took it too far. Maybe it was, they're not looking. No, that's not what they're looking at, because this has been, it's like when you have a mass shooting, right? And then you plaster the mass shooter's face all over the media. You are constantly saying his name. You're constantly doing all these things, right? And experts have said that doing that directly emboldens other people to to replicate and or copy that person's actions, because now that is seen as a viable way of getting famous, quote unquote, of getting your name out there, right? So now they say that the best thing to do when covering these mass shootings is that you don't use their name, you don't show any pictures of the person, you completely ignore the person, you just focus on what happened and the victims. That's really what you do, right? To try to curtail these things, because you do that and you, like I say, you over like, oh, here comes this person and he was just whatever, and you end up creating more, right? Because you create this mania around that person and that event, that it is having the opposite effect. And I see, the exact same thing happening here. Is that we're saying, oh, it's an insurrection and all these things. You're lending this thing such grandiose terms and such power and this mania around it, that all these people are coming forward to say that they were in it, because it's not being represented as a farce, as a joke and a failure of government and of them. It's being represented as these people coming together, and they, as this, I'm as is being represented as this big thing. And I'm not saying that it's not big. It is not a big thing. But when you're using that, and like I said, you're plastering these people's faces all over the place and all these names and all this stuff, you're not, you know, stopping and or hindering something like this from happening again. Or really, I'm talking about what actually happened. You know, you're creating the atmosphere for something like this to happen again. You're bleeding into that, lending into that, because you're not treating it like it's a farce. And this is an absolute joke. You know, we're picking apart every little instance of this thing. Like, oh, there was a guy there. He had zip ties. I wonder what he was going to do. Well, we know what he was going to do. We know what this was. We know what this, what it is and what it means. But when but there are people like lending is like this grand moment in history, and it is a big moment in history. But it's not because it was this in this group of insurrectionists who stormed Capitol Hill. It was a mob of schlubs, Joe Blows, and just failures whom the system and the media had lied to and continue to poke and prod at, you know, and feed them these, conspiracy theories, eroding any type of sense of reality that these people might actually have. And you fall down this rabbit hole of just of foolishness and just the most idiotic beliefs. You just fall out, and these are the people who went out there. It wasn't these tactical insurrectionists. They wore like all this military regalia. The people out there, with the Punisher symbol on, and they were like, we might have to retire the Punisher now because they took like this is what this has become now. Like, and it's like, why don't we just treat this for what it was? It is a linchpin moment in history. You know, it is, a turning point for America and the world, but not because it was an insurrection. I'm not saying that it wasn't, you know, but because we let stupidity and foolishness run rampant to such a degree that that a mob of conspiracy theorists and serial failures who have been poisoned against reality stormed Capitol Hill. That's the light in which this must be discussed in, because that's what actually happened. That's what this was. And they left bombs. They talk about they sent bombs to the
Mm-hmm.
RNC and the DNC, and they did that to
They even brought bombs, pipe bombs, and stuff out
yeah,
there. Yeah.
and they did that to like split police response, to make them have to go here and to make them have to go there, so they could buy them more time to get into the Senate building. And it's like, this is this is this is this is this is a joke. This is a joke.
Just because your plan didn't work,
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I literally just saying
I know that.
that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you put it in the lens of what this
Mm-hmm.
was. You know, this was, like I said, the inmates running the asylum. The patients running the asylum. But the current, like, the coverage of it, and all these people are coming forward. They're not ashamed. They're not. You know, they're not reevaluating. You're not hindering. You're creating this moment again because you're lending it such grandiose terminology and all these things, and it is like I say, it is a linchpin moment. It is a big watershed moment, but it is the largest. Like, this was, let's say, it was bedlam, it was madness, it was foolishness. you know, lending this in it. And I'm not saying that it wasn't deliberate, that they didn't go out there with this in mind to want to do this. I'm not saying that, you know, But I'm like, you look back at like Charlottesville, and as I said the exact same thing about like that was a farce, a joke, of people out there with tiki torches, and all of this stuff. And but nobody, everybody like the divisions are deepening and the rights are getting more radicalized and all these things. And you're lending, you're not actually discussing what's happening or what that was or what this is, and you're creating more and more and more of it because you're not actually talking about it in the light in which it's supposed to be talked about in. These are giant historic moments, these dangerous moments, turning points in American history. But you
These
know
are the people who have the best. Well, hear me out when I say this. You live in your suburbs. I'm not even going to go into why you're there, but that's where you are. You have the best schools. That's why you're in the suburbs.
it's relative.
But I'm just saying, you have the best schools. You it's the low crime. It's all the things that you say that you need and should have. So why is it that you know you don't have any agency? You don't know anything. You need to be retaught. You ran away from us. Your flight, okay, to be around your own, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
to go to the best schools, and because you don't want your tax dollars to whatever. Fine. So why is it that you don't know? Why is it that you don't know your system? Why is it that you don't know?
You do know.
So they're lying, right? I agree. So my thing is that you separated yourself, you isolated yourself, you put yourself in that situation because you thought being over here on the other side of the track was just going to ruin you or whatever the case may be. And you've been lied to. So now you're responding the way that you respond. And we're sitting back. And because I remember when, I'm sitting back and I'm looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, I was like, well, I wasn't surprised. None of us. If you talk to a lot of, we weren't
This was
surprised.
not surprising
This
in the
was not
least.
surprising at all. But when we hear your reasoning for why you're there, you know, they're doing this, they do it. Who is they? Who is they that's still in the election? Hmm?
The Democrats, the Satan worshiping pedophiles.
Oh my God! See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
See this. So you're over there, supposed with your best schools, the best whatever, and you're coming out like this.
So I say, how is this anything but a farce? Now you have a bunch of conspiracy theorists like who say who like or like the Democrat like that's what they QAnon. They're out there and they're the ones doing this. And it's like this. If we actually want to learn from this, you know, actually want to learn from this, and this is what happens when you cannot when you isolate a people to such a degree so that you're so mentally and physically isolated from reality that they would believe in like I said in these crazy ridiculous conspiracies, you know, they would believe in that and they would they would vote for Donald Trump behind it. They would storm the Capitol behind it. They would, do all this stuff behind this obvious lie, and not even a lie. I don't even a joke. You found this stuff on 4chan and stuff like this. This is a joke, and you're doing all of this behind a joke, behind a farce. This entire thing. The last 4 years with Trump has been just an embarrassment and has shown us, you know, just how mentally isolating, systemic racism is and what it does to people,
Mm-hmm.
that it will make people, that people would believe, this foolishness. And that's what it's been 4 years of foolishness, from the mass shootings, Charlottesville, and driving your car in the
Yeah,
crowds,
through crowds or
and
protesters,
all
sure.
that stuff, and you know, to up to the
Correction.
insurrection.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is just like it is like, and it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise, like to anyone who knows, you know, what America really is like,
Mm-hmm.
and what it really does to people. It's not been surprising. At least that's not the surprising part. The surprising part is that just seeing, like, confirming, really,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, what it has done to y'all. You know,
Yeah.
we know what it does, does to us,
Right. And as a matter of fact,
and what it is doing to
we
us.
have
But
expressed that we like we know what it's done to us.
mhm,
So we know what it's doing to you all. But you all have been in denial because, like I said, you've been able to, you can always point to us, use us as your buffer. You understand what I'm saying, for whatever it is, for all of
mhm,
your angst and anxieties or whatever the case may be. And so now that's been pulled, and we're like, see. So that's why, like I said, most of us, at least from conversing with other people that
mhm.
I know, none of us was like, wow, I'm just so whatever. They were like, thought I thought we had tried to told you, but you didn't want to listen to us because you called us crazy.
Because it's a conspiracy
You
for
know,
us.
you called us liars that we're just not doing this and we're just not doing that.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. Now, here you go, right here. In these last 4 years have been it's been validation, confirmation, crystallizations of everything that we've been talking about since forever.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you can't. Well, you can do what I guess you can do whatever you want to, but now it all falls back on you and your decision making. That's what it falls back on. And I guess there's going to have to be a major, you know, enlightenment, major re-education. I mean, I don't understand how it's so difficult.
Well,
I mean, I'm just saying, like 78 million is more than 70 million.
mhm.
You understand? Like I don't, but for some strange reason, you're thinking that's not the case. Oh, how how do you reason with that? How do you like no? That's not it.
Well, who killed JFK?
What you mean, who killed JFK?
No, the point is that we all understand, you know, conspiracy theories, quote unquote, right? And like like with Jeffrey Epstein, nobody believes that was suicide. You know, we all, excuse me, we all understand and know what it. We none of us trust our government, right? We all accept, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
that that presidents lie, that they are liars, and that all of them lie and scheme and plot, and that all of this is they're just trying to maintain their position and or power, and us, what it is that we want is inconsequential. Sometimes you get something, most of the times you don't. We understand that intently, you know. So when we look at them, subscribing to these crazy, conspiracy theories, is crazy because we were on the outside looking in. You know, I don't know what it's like to be some white dude, in the suburbs, you know, completely disconnected from all of this stuff, and having the media and all this stuff, feeding into this, and then you just keep. I don't know what that's like, but I do know what it's like. You look at, who killed Martin Luther King, and the FBI. you know, and how they, you know, would, harass and assault, these people. Like, and that's, you would say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, right? I mean, at least on y'all and looking at us, that's conspiracy theory. But you look, bam, you look at, you know, just all the things that we, how the system, or what Nixon and all this stuff that, this, like I said, this neoliberalist, Southern switch, nightmare that we've been existing in, since Nixon, like so the last 80 years, right? I'm like, we have to live with that. And then we've been saying it, and we've been saying that for such a long time, and like you said, nobody believed us. Nobody believed us until now, right? Now that your trust and or vision has eroded to such an extent that now you are beginning to see just how broken things are, right? But but when you don't even trust in the basis of reality, when you can't even admit that a person got more votes than another person, or that this obvious criminal is a criminal and has surrounded themselves with criminals who do criminal things and have done criminal things for 4 years, even before that,
Right. Mm-hmm.
for decades. Like the Republican Party, even the Democratic Party, are criminals and liars, you know, who push in lies that you are being lied to. And you know that you're being lied to, right? But you'll believe in conspiracy theories, but you'll believe in all this stuff, right? And I'm on the outside looking in. I'm trying to tell you, right, that no, it's not Hugo Chavez,
Right.
or
No,
one of the
John.
Kennedys.
Yeah.
It's not,
You know,
you know,
John Kennedy Jr. is not standing there behind you.
I'm
Right.
trying to, I'm telling you this, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that something is wrong. But the thing is, something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very wrong. You,
Yes.
you're the problem,
You're the problem.
right?
Uh-huh.
But instead of admitting that,
Right.
you fall down this rabbit hole. Like I said, and admitting that doesn't mean that, okay, that means black people get to put you all in jail
Right.
and do all this stuff. Like you said, nobody's talking about that.
Right.
Nobody wants that.
Uh-huh.
We just want you to stop being a problem. Really.
Yeah.
That's really what we
Just
want.
get it right. That's all.
Just stop with this.
Right.
Because like I said, you're being lied to.
Mm-hmm.
You're being taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you have every right to be upset. You have every right to be angry at your government, to be angry at your leaders.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you got to be angry at all. There's no secret good guy in this race.
Right.
That has been, that faked his life
Mm-hmm.
for 70 years just so he can become president and root out which. Nobody's not saying that these people aren't into some shady stuff.
Right.
Nobody's not saying that they're not even pedophiles.
Mm-hmm.
They all Jeffrey Epstein and stuff like that.
Right.
That there isn't this sexual, deviant element
Mm-hmm.
to the things that are going on in our government. We know that they do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
They might even be Satan worshippers.
Yeah. Well,
Some of them,
uh-huh.
maybe. Who knows? I always said they always. I remember the like I said when I talked about the Knights of the Golden Circle,
Right.
and that conspiracy that John Wilkes Booth that all these people were part of to kill the president and all that good stuff. I'm like, I remember when I learned about that, and I was like, see, they always lived in some grandiose Knights of the Golden Circle,
Right.
and they come in these secret meetings, and they all
Right.
dress, do all this foolishness. See, they always doing this stuff.
Stupid, yeah.
Always doing
Silliness.
this stuff.
Hmm.
Dressing it up and doing all these, and it's like I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't some element of our government that does that stupid, like the Hellfire Club is a real actual club
Hmm.
that Benjamin Franklin was a part of.
Hmm.
But it was a farce. It was just a bunch of rich and influential people playing at magic and Satan and stuff. And I think somebody had like actually brought a monkey there one time and just they put it in the box and they did this ritual thing and then the monkey came out and everybody was it was just
Yeah, just stupid.
it's a farce.
Right.
It's this joke like and it's like all this stuff. These I said like the Hellfire Club was a real actual club
Hmm.
for real actual influential people that
Hmm.
did real actual things.
Hmm.
You know, and so nobody's saying that our government is on our side and that
Right.
there isn't some conspiracy at work here.
Hmm.
You know, but the conspiracy is to trick you that someone is in control when in reality no one's in control.
Right.
There's a giant black hole at the center of this, and we're all hurling into it. No, America's like, no, we're in control, and China's like, no, we're in
Hmm.
control, and Russia and everybody's trying to fake the funk.
The whole world is run on bluff.
Exactly.
Marcus Garvey. The whole world is
Everybody's
run.
lying.
Yep. The whole world's run on bluff.
Everybody's lying. The only one truth is that it is madness. It
Hmm.
is absolute madness out there. Everybody's lying, and nobody wants to grow up and own up and and actually do anything constructive, you know, to fix what's going on. Like even with Joe Biden,
Hmm. Oh,
right?
yeah.
Even with Joe Biden, like I said, this is the first time since 2008 that the Democrats have full control of both the executive and representative branches of our government,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Now, when Obama had full control, he used it to be a bit more bipartisan and try to, work with the Republicans, but that didn't work because they were bound and determined to see this man fail.
Right.
So you wasted 2 years. You know, that's what you did.
Right.
You wasted 2 years of time. Whereas here with Joe Biden,
Hmm.
he doesn't seem to be wasting time.
Right. Yeah. You're
He's
signing the executive
pushing
orders and
all of
pushing
these
off. Right.
executives on. He's doing all these things, doing all of this. But does anyone actually think that Joe Biden's on our side?
No.
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 We all know what the deal is. You're trying to maintain government.
Right.
You're trying to maintain the structure and the apparatus, and you're doing, like we said, just enough. Just enough. How far are you willing to go in these 2 years that you have control? You already like stop Trump's impeachment for like 2 weeks so
Hmm.
he could get his defense in order, and we
Right.
could push through whomever you want to put in your cabinet and stuff like that. It's like, and you're going to need 17 Republican votes to actually impeach this man, right? You're going to need 17 Republicans to vote to say that this man did this crime that we all saw him do. We saw him stoking the fires for his entire presidency.
Hmm.
You know, eroding trust in the system and saying that,
Yeah,
oh,
because I
it's
think
them
I,
and
I
it's
I
them and
think you
it's
need
them
like
and it's
a
them.
total of 67,
Yeah.
right? To
So you just go to take 17 Republican votes. And there's already like Marco Rubio and all these people coming out.
clowns. Yeah, the clowns like Ted Cruz and
Hmm.
yeah, that's all right.
Coming out. And it's like no one wants to take responsibility. Not the government, not the people. Everyone's lying. This is a farce. This is a joke. It's a delusion. You know, and we're all constantly playing these games, and nobody's actually saying that, and that's what frustrates me. Like it's insurrection. Like yes, it was an insurrection, but the insurrection was a farce. It was a farce. All of this, and it's like we ask like how did we get here? How did we get to this point? And like we've been at this point. We've been here. It's just that it's been easy to lie about it and look the other way, you know, and all that stuff because throughout all that time you had an actual president. some a presentable president, not an embarrassing
Gambling idiot.
yeah, you know, like even with George Bush, like you say, George Bush Jr. with all of his flubs, he was still a president. He was still the president. And man committed war crimes,
Hmm.
lied and started a war. The man
Hmm.
should be in jail. Him and all of them should be in
Yeah,
jail.
all of them. Right.
But he was still more presidential than what we had who had no idea what it actually meant to be a president. You know, and just broke the law all the time. The man committed impeachable offenses on a daily
Base.
basis.
Right.
Because he had no idea like that's actually illegal for a president to do. So you could get away with that stuff in a business. When you barely because you went bankrupt like twice and all that
Right.
stuff. You could barely get away with it there. You're not supposed to get away with it there. You're supposed to get arrested for it there. But now you're the president. And you especially really can't get away with it here. But evidently you can.
Right.
Evidently you can. You know? And it's like this is what this is. This is what it actually is. You know?
So
This
now where are we? What is
we are
what is to come of this? And I'm not optimistic. I'm just,
listen, we are
you
what we
know,
have always been.
hmm
Literally nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is the veneer. You can't lie like you did before. Because the systemic racism is still there. Those far right terrorist groups are still there. It's still a farce. All of these things are still happening.
I don't
I
know.
mean, it's
I
all
don't
this.
know what has to happen now for things to
I
break.
mean,
I
it's
don't.
already happening.
I mean, I'm just saying. Like what else? The events that happen. In DC.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is that going to? How is that going to move
How's that
people?
going to change things?
How's that going to change anything? Change things. You know, I'm.
Look, you can only hope that it does change things. You know, that'll be a start. That it actually does change things, and what that change actually is up to the Democrats. Like I said, you got 2 years. You got 2 years, and then hopefully you might have of unchallenged power. Excuse me. Hopefully for the rest of your term, hopefully you can actually do something.
Yeah, but I always say Democrats are y'all are wimps. You're wimps. It's.
We'll see.
I'm not optimistic. I'm not. I. We shall see.
And it's like with everything that has been happening, you know, but there is a reckoning. There is a reckoning happening all over the world. Like we said when we talked about with Russia, the riots
Yeah,
in Russia,
protest in Russia. Like
over
what is
three
going on?
thousand people being arrested,
Uh-huh.
and all this stuff,
Uh,
and it's stuff in Hong Kong, stuff
Taiwan,
in
right?
Taiwan, and
Hmm.
stuff in Nigeria,
Right.
and all
And,
over the world.
uh,
You know, it's like it it can't be this anymore. It could, like I said, we might be stuck in this
hmm
with this foolishness, this particular brand of foolishness for the next 50 years, right? Of just this, like it can't be this anymore,
Right.
right? And foolishness and protests and riots and all this stuff. We might be in this phase in the next 50 years, before something that looks like progress begins to take hold. Or
I'm
it
not.
could be next week.
I'm not going to tell folks what to do. That's. But I strongly recommend that you know that you get to shifting your perspective to to really educating yourself. And in that education that it changes your behavior. That you love your children,
Mhm.
you know, and 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 raise them, teach them well,
Mhm.
you know, that you start to, create relationships with people. I'm not talking now. I'm not talking about economy, because
Mhm.
economy is a sort of relationship, but just building relationships with people so that it can become like another or new currency, to where you were constantly evolving and creating and solving problems. And I can only suggest that maybe that it starts at a small
Mhm.
scale and that it builds into something else. That it becomes bigger,
Yeah.
not builds. But that it becomes bigger because the thought, of we got to, of this mass, plan for, I don't know, re-education, for this restructure, whatever. It's too overwhelming.
Mhm.
It's too overwhelming. So just start with you. You know, stop lying to yourself, I guess,
I mean,
and
it
just
all
take it
comes
from
down
there.
to like to what we've been talking about this entire time.
Yeah.
You know, if if the last 4 years has confirmed anything, is that America is in desperate need of some honesty, some perspective. It needs an adult. It's a lost child in the mall, and it needs an adult.
Hmm.
For someone to actually say and do something. Like I said, 70 million people voted for Donald Trump.
Hmm.
After everything that had happened, 70 million people. And you're saying, why is that?
Hmm.
Yeah, I say that it's because with Obama in office, nothing felt different. It didn't feel like there was a black man in office.
Hmm.
Like, oh man, there's a black man in office and
Hmm.
things are changing.
Right.
Nothing felt like it changed.
Oh, but with Donald Trump, you felt every day.
You felt
Every day of that
every
presidency.
waking moment.
Right.
Every moment. And there's 70 million people in this country. Listen, they would rather things get worse. They would rather plunge headlong
Hmm.
toward the bottom, to rock bottom, than feel like nothing is happening at all. They feel like they are stagnant, that 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 nothing can be done. They would rather, like I said, things get progressively worse. They would rather set the country on fire and just go headlong into just a fascist dictatorship. They would rather that. They want action, any type of action.
Hmm. Addicted to it, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
they want something,
Hmm.
just something, to feel like something is happening,
Hmm.
to feel like nothing is happening at all. So, like I said with Joe Biden, you have to do something,
Right.
something, you know, for us,
Right.
do
Something.
something, whatever it is,
And make it feel.
and make it something.
Yeah.
You have to make it something,
Hmm.
and we've been talking about this for so long,
Yeah.
about this war, this divide, and all these things. I said that those are the words.
Hmm.
Insurrection is the word. These are the words that we need to use to describe what is happening to us and what needs to happen to us. For so long, like I said, we build ourselves up. We Nothing is ever good. Being human is never good. You know, we lie to ourselves and have to make this out for something that it isn't. We lie to ourselves even when we tell the truth. You know, because we cannot admit what it actually means for us. To actually, barter in truth. Like I said, we would rather say that we are good bad people than bad good people. We'd rather be monsters than failures. We don't. Nobody wants to be honest. Nobody's being, and like I said, that wasn't a triumph of anything on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, that was a
It was a failure and a
yes.
farce. It was a joke. This is how far we have come.
Mm-hmm.
This is how far we have fallen. That we are continuing to fall. And it's going to take more than 4 years of Joe Biden or 8 years of Joe Biden. It's going to take more than a representative, a senator, or a sheriff. It's going to take people,
right, doing the work,
actual people,
doing the work,
being honest.
yeah, doing the work.
That's what it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like all over the world, we are seeing just how much work needs. Like no one's in control.
Right.
We're seeing that confirmed.
Yes.
All over the world, that everybody's lying and that everything's broken.
Mm-hmm.
We all know what this is supposed to be. That is not supposed to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
That is not supposed to be this hard. You know, like you said, life is hard, but it's not supposed to be this hard.
Right.
Not like this.
Not like this. Not that you won't have difficulties.
Yeah.
It's not even that you won't have disagreements and those. And I talk about this all the time. It's not that those things aren't going to happen. It's just that it can't be
like this.
Like this. This seems impossible and overwhelming and tiresome. You know, to where you don't even know where to start. Mm-hmm. So since you don't know where to start, you definitely, you're mm-hmm. just out now. And so for us, for those that do know, mm-hmm. this is where you have to start. You have to start with you, make those connections, you know, and be honest in making those connections. And then blossom and fulfill from there. That's how this is going to have to go. And
look, black people, being black is other people get to live. Mm-hmm. Black people have to live.
Right.
We have to live with white people.
Right.
We have to live with the statues mm-hmm. and the flags and the government and the history. Mm-hmm. We have to live with each other. Mm-hmm. We have to live with this cultural impetus that leads us toward futility and pain and struggle. We have to live with all of this. We have no other choice.
Right.
Being black is a responsibility. It is a job. A full-time job.
No days off. No days off.
Because
none.
Every day that you don't want to be black, there'll be someone there to make sure that you know that you are.
Right.
Someone or something. Every day.
The mirror. You wake up and you see it.
Is it in your neighborhoods? Uh-huh. You know, at the schools that you don't want to send your children to, but you're too busy to be able mm-hmm. to afford to do anything else. Mm-hmm. You know, from the food that you know you shouldn't be feeding them, but mm-hmm. you can't afford anything right. else. Mm-hmm. In these streets, you know, that you have to drive down
to get to the job.
That you don't want to have to go to these, right. you know, that, you know, your child could be killed with you just driving. Mm-hmm. Literally, and people right. shooting back and forth. Mm-hmm. And so you got to drive through that to send your child to a school you don't want them to be in, to go to a building that you don't, but you have to. Mm-hmm. You have to. That is what it means to be black. Mm-hmm. You know, it is a job. It is a responsibility. And it is one that we have to do. And it's one that I think we can't live without. You know, I wouldn't want to be anything but black.
Correct.
You know, with everything that it entails.
That's right.
With all the heartache and struggle and pain, because we know right here mm-hmm. at this job,
right,
there is no lies. There is no delusion. Right. We can't afford that as well.
That's right.
You know, we can't be lied to here.
Right. We know.
We know better.
Right.
And that's why when you look around, you see all these things, you feel this disquiet in
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and you want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I said, but people like we painted up to be a war, we painted up to be all this grandiose things.
Mm-hmm.
But what it is a failure. It is a failure of the human condition, of epic proportions,
Mm-hmm.
of us not doing our job because we don't want to own up to the responsibility of our history, of our skin.
Right.
We don't want to own up. And guess what? They don't want
Don't
to
want to
own
own
up.
up.
Guess what? Being white, that's a job too. Evidently, you're showing me.
Yeah.
And it's quite the job.
Yeah, right.
It's a job.
Yeah, you even make it up. I'm about to say something.
Mm-hmm.
You even make it up stuff.
It's a job.
Right.
And nobody wants to do their job.
Uh,
We life is a struggle now, so it could be a gift later. Right? That's what we all then we can get to a point
mm-hmm.
where we can actually enjoy it. And we often say, white people don't know about barbecues and cookouts or just happiness in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because doing this job, the pain hurts worse, the happiness is happier.
Right.
The sweetness is just a bit sweeter. Because we know what it means to get it from here. Even when we're lying, even when we're failing. We can laugh a bit more.
Right.
And God damn it, we ain't storming no Capitol.
Yeah.
Behind QAnon.
Right. Yeah. Not
We
that.
ain't doing that.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
This is what it means.
Right.
Do your job.
Yeah.
White people. You know what this is.
Right.
I don't know what it like. I don't know what it is to be you.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it's a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what it is to have this job. Because of you, might I add.
Right.
I don't want to place blame.
But I'm just saying.
But I'm just saying.
Right.
That's the truth.
That's the truth.
It wouldn't be all this if it wasn't for you. Right? I'm not saying it, and I know it would not be perfect. Because, like I said, we have our own problems.
Mm-hmm.
The problems that we're dealing with, come to find out, are problems that we've all had to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But it wouldn't be this.
That's right.
It wouldn't be vegan shamans storming the Capitol.
Right.
And then asking for vegan food in prison.
Right. I have to have organics or whatever it
wouldn't
is.
Be
Right.
this.
It wouldn't be that.
This.
Right.
It would not be this.
Right.
Man, do your job.
Yeah, bro.
Do your job.
Hey, handle your business. Do what you need to do.
This is there's no excuse for this.
Right.
What happened there was not an insurrection. It was a farce. You're lying and you're stupid and you did a stupid thing and people got killed behind it.
Right.
And
Own your shit.
On your yes.
Yes.
On your
own your shit.
You did this.
Right.
Own up to it and do your job. Stop
Fix
lying.
it, damn it. Yeah, stop lying.
Stop waiting. For everybody. If we got to do this job, and we have to do this job.
Mm-hmm.
We have to. That's what it means. Then you have to do yours. You get to do yours. So
that's where we are.
That's where we are. If any comments, questions, or concerns, leave them in the comments. And thank you for hearing us out.
Thank you.